Hello, and welcome to our Teen and Tween Fandom Kit demo with the Public Library of Brookline. My name is Abby, and I'm the Tween librarian at the Brookline Village Library. Today I'm going to be walking you through how to make a fun crocheted Totoro hexagon. Is this your first Public Library of Brookline To Go program? Here's how it works. Each month, the library is offering new take-home program kits complete with everything you need to follow along in video or written instructions created by one of your local librarians. The best part, absolutely no due dates. You can keep everything included in your kit. Visit brklib.com/to-go for a full list of our current kit offerings and follow the link there or visit brklib.com/eventbrite to reserve yours for free pickup at any of our 3 library locations. All right, so we'll begin by going through all of the materials that you have in your kit, or if you didn't get a kit, these are the materials that you'll need to make this cute little crocheted Totoro, which you see the end result here. So first you'll need a crochet hook. I'm using a size G. You might have gotten a little bit of a smaller size like an F or a larger size like an H in your kit, but that's okay. You'll need a yarn needle, a stitch keeper, a pair of scissors, a little piece of black felt, some glue dots, and then 4 different colors of yarn. You'll need white yarn, black yarn, off-white yarn, and the yarn we'll be using most, which is gray. And I'm using a size 4 weight yarn here. For this crochet project, we'll be using 5 different kinds of stitches: a magic circle, a double crochet stitch, a single crochet stitch, a chain stitch, and a slip stitch. If you need more help practicing these stitches before completing the project, there are a lot of tutorial videos online. We recommend videos from Creative Bug, which you can access on our website using your library card number and password. Alright, so our first step is to make something called a magic circle, and we'll be making a magic circle using double crochets here. And to be honest, this might be kind of the hardest part of the whole project, so if you can do this, then you shouldn't have any problem doing it. But if you do need to, watch the video a couple of times or practice a few times, that's totally okay. It took me quite a few times to get a hang of this when I first started crocheting. And if you need, another tutorial, there are lots of tutorials on YouTube if you just need some extra practice as well. So to begin, we'll need your gray yarn and your crochet hook, and your stitch keeper just off to the side in case you need it for later, and I'll show you how to use that in just a moment. So you'll take your gray yarn and place it over your 2 fingers like so, and then around your fingers like this, crossing it on the bottom of your 2 fingers so that it makes kind of an X shape on the bottom, but they're not crossed on the top. And then you'll stick your crochet hook through and grab that back yarn and twist, and then grab that back yarn again and then twist it forward, pull it through to make your little circle like so. And this is the basis for making anything in a circular shape when you're crocheting like a circle, or in this case, a hexagon. All right, and be mindful of the tail. You'll need to keep that tail with you as you're crocheting. Don't just put it off to the side. So you're going to need it to be right there next to your circle as you're crocheting, because you're going to be crocheting around the circle and the tail. So to begin, you're going to yarn over and then pull through to make 1 chain, yarn over again, pull through to make 2 chains. And now we're going to make our first double crochet into this magic circle. So to begin your double crochet, you'll yarn over and then make sure that you're going under both the tail and the magic circle, and then yarn over again and pull up so that you have 3 loops on your hook. Then you'll yarn over again and pull through those first 2. So now you have 2 loops on your hook, and then you'll yarn over again and pull through both of them. So now you only have 1 loop on your hook and your first double crochet is complete. And so now we're going to make another 2 chains there, and we'll do a set of 2 double crochets. So yarn over, and you go under, yarn over again, so you have 3, yarn over again, pull through, yarn over again, pull through, and then do that again. And then see, now you have 2 little sets of crochets separated by a chain 2, and we're going to go through that until we have 6 total little bundles of 2 crochets each. So we chain 2 and then 2 double crochets. Chain 2 again, and then 2 double crochets, and that will be our 4th double crochet, our 4th little set of double crochets there. And then just 2 more times now. So double 2 chains, and 2 double crochets for our 5th set. And sometimes you might see me stop and count my crochets. A lot of crocheting is just counting. I like to just make sure that I know that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And so we'll make our 2 final chains and 2 final sets of double crochet. And once you've completed that, you'll find the tail of your magic circle, and you're going to pull it tight to bring all of that together into a tight little circle like so. And then you'll need to do your final 2 chains there. And then on that beginning chain, remember you did the 3 chains to begin this, you're going to find the 3rd one, which should be at the very top, and insert your hook, and then you're going to do a slip stitch where you yarn over and then just pull through both stitches on your hook to complete that hexagon. And so now you can kind of count just to make sure that you have all 6 little bundles there to create our hexagon. And if you ever find yourself just like wanting to put this to the side, at any point you can pick up your stitch keeper and hook it through the loop. And that way you can just kind of set it to the side and not worry about your crochet coming apart. And so this is just if you ever want to take a break at any point in the process, you can do that. Now we're ready to begin the first round of our hexagon. So to begin, we're just going to be making a chain 3, just like how we began our magic circle. And from there, we're going to do 1 double crochet into that next stitch. And so when you look from the top, the stitch should have 2 strands of yarn kind of right next to each other. And whenever you are making your double crochet, you want to make sure that you're going into both of those and catching both strands of yarn on your hook. And so you're going to make your double crochet, and then you will have reached the space there, and into that little space we're going to make a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. So here I'm making my first double crochet into that space, and now I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to make another double crochet into that exact same space. And from there, in order to reach the next space, I'm going to do a double crochet again, and then another double crochet. So 2 double crochets in a row, making sure you're catching both strands of yarn on your hook as you're doing that. And then you will have reached the next space, and from there you're going to double crochet, chain 2, double crochet again, and you're just going to follow that pattern all the way around. And you'll see I am having some issues with my yarn here, so I keep yanking it. That's okay, you know, sometimes yarn just kind of gets away from us. Right, from here I'm going to do my 2 double crochets. And then I've reached the space, so double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. And now 2 double crochets in a row. You'll see here that I wasn't quite happy with the chain that I made in the stitch, so I just kind of took it out and I'm going to restart it. And that's just, you know, if you ever find yourself needing to do that, it's really easy to take apart a crochet and just redo the stitches that you're not happy with. So from there, I'm doing my 2 double crochets. And then our double crochet, 2 chain, double crochet. And you'll see I stop here just to count, always counting. Can't recommend counting enough whenever you're working on your crochets. So I'm going to do my 2 double crochets in a row. And now I've reached my final space where I'll do my final double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. And then after I've completed that, I'm going to do a slip stitch into the top of the chain of the round. So you'll count up the chain 1, 2, 3, and then just do a slip stitch into that 3rd chain to complete the round. And now you've completed your first round and we're ready to get started on the next. Now let's get ready for round 2. And for this round, you're going to start with a gray yarn, but then have your off-white yarn just to the side because you will need it in this round. And to begin, just like our previous round, we are going to begin with a chain 3. And we're going to be following basically the exact same pattern that we did on the previous round, where we're going to do a 2 double crochets in a row into the next 2 stitches until we reach the space. And then we'll do the double crochet, 2 chain, double crochet. And now instead of just doing 2 double crochets in a row, we're going to be doing 4. So 4 double crochets into the 4 stitches made by the previous round. And we're going to be doing that on the next 3 sides. And then on the bottom 2 sides of the hexagon, that's where we're going to be using our off-white yarn. So, but I'll tell you how to change the yarn whenever we get there. But for now, we're just going to do our 4 double crochets in a row. Alright, so now we've reached our space. We'll do our double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into that space. You see, I'm still yanking on my yarn, still having some issues with it. I find that sometimes yarn just really has a mind of its own, and we can only just do our best with it. Alright, so now I've done one side, and I need to do the next 2 in that exact same way with my gray yarn. So I'm going to do my double crochets. There's 1 and 2, 3 and 4, and now I've reached my space, so we'll do the chain 2, or sorry, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. And now this is the final side where I'll do, well, using the gray yarn, we'll be doing the 4 double crochets in a row. And then after that, we'll do one more space where we'll do our double crochet, chain 2, double crochet before changing to our off-white yarn. So we'll start with our double crochet and then do the chain 2, and then for the second double crochet into that space, you're going to want to only half complete it. So you'll get to the point where you have 2 loops on your hook there, and then that's when you're going to grab your off-white yarn and you'll complete that double crochet with the off-white yarn instead of the gray yarn. So pull it through those 2 loops, and so now your off-white yarn is attached to your crochet. And from there, you're going to only be using the off-white yarn to make the 4 double crochets that are next. And be very, very mindful of the gray yarn that is still attached to your hexagon, because you're going to want to include that and carry that yarn along as you're doing the crochets with your off-white yarn. So just make sure that you're catching that gray yarn as you're making your double crochets with the off-white yarn so you can carry it along. So I'm going to do my 4 double crochets using the off-white yarn. And you'll see there I've been carrying that gray yarn with me as I'm going. Here's my 3rd double crochet and my 4th one. And then I'm going to be doing the double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into that space with the off-white yarn, making sure that I'm carrying that gray yarn with me the entire time. And you'll see why that's important in just a moment. Alright, and so this is the final side where I'll be using my off-white yarn, and then after that we'll be switching back to our gray yarn. So I got my 1st double crochet, 2nd double crochet, third double crochet, and 4th double crochet. But you see here, I actually made a small mistake, and that happens sometimes because I didn't actually want to complete my 4th double crochet, because at this point we're going to be switching back to our gray yarn, so I only wanted to half complete it so I can make that color change. So I took it out and I've started again. So I'm making that 4th crochet, but I'm only doing it halfway, so I have 2 loops on my hook. And then now I'm going to grab that gray yarn that I've been carrying along with me, and I'm going to complete the double crochet using the gray yarn. And now I've reached this space, so continuing with the gray yarn, we'll do our double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into that space. And now instead of carrying the gray yarn with us, we're going to be wanting to make sure that we carry our off-white yarn with us the entire way. And we're going to be carrying that off-white yarn with us around the entire hexagon until we reach the next part where we come back to the off-white yarn again, but that won't be until the next round. But for now, we'll just complete this current round. And so to complete it, I just need to do one more double crochet. And then I do a slip stitch into the top chain of the beginning. So 1, 2, 3, make sure I'm going into the top stitch. And then I pull it through to make my slip stitch. And that is it for round 2. And now we are all ready for round 3. When we're beginning our third round, it's important to remember to carry that off-white yarn with you the entire way around until we reach the part where we need the off-white yarn, just to make sure that we have it there when it's ready. So to begin, just do our chain 3 like we've done to start the previous rounds. And we're going to carry that yarn and do our 3 double crochets into the next 3 stitches. So here is 1, and I'm catching that off-white yarn as I'm going to carry it along with me. 2, and 3. And now I've reached my space, and so I'll do my double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and I'm going to do that with the gray yarn all the way around until I reach the 2 sides down at the bottom that need the off-white yarn, and then we'll switch to our off-white yarn. So we're just doing the exact same pattern that we've done on previous rounds on this round, but instead of, on the previous round we did 4 double crochets in a row. This time we will be doing 6. So at this point I'll be doing my 6 double crochets in a row. So here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and my final one for that side is 6. And then I'll do my double crochet, chain 2 double crochet into the space, and then I'm going to do the next 2 sides the exact same way until I reach the 2 sides at the bottom that I'll be needing my off-white yarn. Okay, so now I've reached my final space before I need to change over to the off-white yarn. So I'll do my double crochet, chain 2, and then only half of the second double crochet. So I have 2 loops of it on the hook, and then I'll change to my off-white yarn to complete that double crochet here, like so. And from there, I'll do this side, doing 6 double crochets in a row with the off-white yarn, carrying the gray yarn with me the entire time. And I'll do that on the next 2 sides before changing back to the gray yarn. So make sure I have that gray yarn with me as I'm going, carrying it along with me. And we'll do our 6 double crochets with the off-white yarn. Okay, so now I've reached the space. So with the off-white yarn, carrying that gray yarn with me the entire time, I'll do my double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and then for the next side we will do our 6 double crochets using the off-white yarn before changing back to the gray yarn in the next space. Okay, and when I'm on my final and 6th stitch of that side, that's when I'm going to switch back to the gray yarn. Remember, you're going to switch back in the middle of the stitch. So when you have 2 strands on your hook, you'll switch back to the gray yarn and complete that double crochet. And then to begin with the gray yarn into the next space. And now you're going to be carrying the off-white yarn with you as we complete this side. And from there, I just need to do 2 more double crochets to complete this side. And then I'm going to make the slip stitch into the top of the chain, just like we've done in the previous rounds, to complete this side. And once we've completed that slip stitch, we'll have finished our 3rd round and we're ready to begin on our 4th and final round of this crochet. But then don't worry, we still have a few more steps after that before our Totoro is complete. For our 4th and final round, we're going to be doing the first 4 sides in the gray and then the bottom 2 in off-white, just like we've done in the previous 2 rounds. So to begin, we'll do our chain 3, just like we've done on all of the previous rounds. And then I'm going to do 4 double crochets in a row to reach that first space, making sure I'm carrying the off-white yarn with me. So first double crochet there. You'll see here on the back, there is a little bit of it where I accidentally wasn't carrying the yarn, but that's okay if you do that too. Nobody's really going to be looking at the back of your crochet anyway, so it's okay if it's a little bit messy. And so now I'm going to complete the 4 beginning double crochets of this round before I reach the space where I'll do our old trusty double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into that space. And from here, we're just going to follow the exact same pattern that we've done on all previous rounds, where we're going to do a double crochet into each stitch until we reach the space. And then in this space, you'll do your double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and you'll do that on the next 3 sides. And then on the bottom 2 sides, you'll switch to your off-white yarn and do the exact same thing. And then once we've completed this round, then we'll be complete with our base of our Totoro crochet. So between each of our spaces, we're going to do 8 double crochets on this final round. And here I've reached the spot where I need to change to my off-white yarn. So I do half of the double crochet, switch to the off-white yarn and complete the double crochet. And from there, I'll do my 8 double crochets in a row, 1 for each stitch. And then I'll do the double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in that space, and then I will do 8 double crochets in a row again. See if you can spot the mistake that I make here. So instead of changing back to my gray yarn in that space, like I've done on all previous rounds, I continue into that space with my off-white yarn, and instead do the last space of the round with the double crochet, 2 chain double crochet using the off-white yarn instead of changing to the gray yarn like I'm supposed to. And instead I change to the gray yarn after I've done that space. And so that's why mine is actually going to look a little funkier than it's supposed to. So here you see I'm going into that space with my off-white yarn, but instead I should have changed to my gray yarn. And I recommend that you change to your gray yarn there as well, instead of continuing with the off-white yarn like I've done here. But regardless of what color you use and when you change it, after you've done your double crochet, 2 chain double crochet into that space, you're going to do 3 more double crochets and then a slip stitch at the top of the beginning chain to finish your 4th and final round of your crochet. And once you've completed that final slip stitch, it's time to fasten off. So you're going to just cut the yarn a little ways away from your crochet, maybe, you know, a good 5 or 6 inches. And then from there, you can pull through the yarn completely through that stitch and then just pull it tight to make sure that it's nice and secure. And make sure that you still have a bit of a tail there, and then do the same thing with the off-white yarn, except the off-white yarn you don't need to pull it so tight since it's in the middle of the crochet, not at the end. Alright, now it's time to tidy up the back of our crochet and get rid of all of those yarn ends. And so for this, you'll just need a pair of scissors and your yarn needle. And what I'm going to do is just going to take each of those yarn ends and put it through the eye of the yarn needle. And then from there, you're just going to kind of want to lace it through a few stitches on the back and pull it through so that it's nice and secure. And we're just going to do that with all of the loose yarn ends that are on the back of your crochet. And then once you've pulled them all through, you can cut them close with a pair of scissors so that you don't have any loose yarns coming out the back of your crochet piece. Alright, and so when you're looking from this side, you can see the little mistake that I made here where I added those extra stitches using the off-white yarn instead of the gray yarn, so mine looks a little funky, but that's okay. It still looks cute, I think. And so from here, we're going to make those little gray hash marks on the front of our Totoro, on his little chest there. And we're going to do that using a length of gray yarn. I've got maybe about 1.5 feet of it here, and our yarn needle. And so I'm just going to sew those little arrow hash marky things onto his chest. And I've done kind of 3 on each side of his chest, but you can do however many you want, whatever you think looks cute. And when I'm done making all of those little hash marks, I'm going to turn it over to the other side, and I'm going to sew in the yarn ends using my yarn needle just like I did the other yarn ends, and then we can cut the yarn close so that everything is nice and tidy on the back. Alright, it is time to get started on Totoro's little facial features, and we're going to start with his nose. And for this, you'll need the black yarn. So I'm going to lay the black yarn down and kind of do a loop like so. And then I'm going to flip the loop until it looks like a little pretzel there. And from there, I'll insert the hook into the bottom little loop of that pretzel, and then just pull tight. And that way we have made a little knot on our hook so we can get started making the nose. And from here, we're just going to do a chain 4. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's a little hard to see since it's a black yarn. Go into the second chain from the hook. So not the chain that's right there next to your hook. You're going to skip that one completely and go straight into the next chain. And we're going to do a single crochet. And so for a single crochet, you do not need to yarn over to begin. You're just going to stick it straight into that stitch and pull it through so you have 2 loops on your hook. And now you yarn over and pull it through both of those loops. And that is how you do a single crochet. And then from there in the next stitch, you're going to do a double crochet, which you've now done plenty of while making our Totoro. So a double crochet. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do 1 more single crochet. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. And then into that same stitch that you just did the single crochet, you're going to do a slip stitch. So just pull it through and then yarn over and then pull through both times. And then from there, we're just going to cut the yarn and fasten off by pulling the yarn through completely and pulling it tight. And there is our little nose. If this is, a little bit too much, you can also just make a nose using the black felt, which we're going to use the black felt to make the pupils of the eyes as well. And if you just feel like you're not really up to making this nose, then you can absolutely just make the nose using the black felt as well. Now it's time to make our Totoro's eyes. So we're going to be making another magic circle, but this time we're only going to be doing single crochets into that magic circle instead of double crochets. And I'll show you just how to do that here. And so make sure that you're including the tail as you are doing your single crochets. And to do the single crochet magic circle, so instead of yarning over like we did at the beginning, we're just going to be going straight under, yarn over, and so you have 2 loops on your hook and then just pull it through again. So it's a little bit of a quicker stitch than the double crochet. And we're going to do it 6 times, so we have 6 single crochets on our magic circle. And once we've done 6, we can take the tail and pull it nice and tight to close up that magic circle. And from there, we are going to be doing 2 single crochets into each stitch. So that is 12 single crochets total going around. So you'll see here that I do 1 single crochet into the stitch, and then I do a second single crochet into the exact same stitch. For 2 in each stitch, totaling 12. And once we've completed all 12 stitches going around, I'm going to finish it off with a slip stitch, and then I'll cut the yarn just like I did the previous rounds and pull it tight to finish off that eyeball. And then we're going to do the exact same thing again to create the second eye. Alright, so now it is time to assemble everything, and you'll see that I've cut off all of the yarn ends from my eyepieces here, and you can play around with where you want to place each little piece on your Totoro, and then you'll want to grab your piece of black felt and a pair of scissors to cut out the pupils for your Totoro, and then you're going to attach everything, the eyes, the pupils, and the nose using some glue dots. And there is our finished product. He is so cute. Look at how adorable that is. I'm really proud of everyone for sticking with this project. Crocheting is such a fun and versatile hobby, and I really hope that you continue with the skills that you've learned today. Thank you guys so much for crafting with us today. We have lots of new kits coming out for June. Our June Fandom kit will be a Pokemon terrarium, and we also have 2 new kits available starting in June. The June project for our art camp kit will be a rainbow crayon candle, and our taste test kit will be a make-your-own boba tea. The Teen and Tween Kits program is generously sponsored by the library trustees and the Friends of the Brookline Public Library. We would love to see what you made with your kit, so please feel free to share your project with us on social media with the hashtag BRKLIB to go. Happy making!